Final news segment is formal request. Larry, you get to make one formal request to Kyle Shanahan directly of something you'd like to see more of as this team goes forward. What would your formal request be? Let me ask you straight up, does it involve Jair Alexander? Because that might be my formal request, certainly on the defensive side of the football. Maybe go
Jair Brown.
Excuse me, Jair Brown, not Jair Alexander.
I thought you were making a late season trade.
No, I don't think that's available.
I would like you to trade for Jair Alexander.
Hey, you guys are out of it now. We'd like to make a trade.
That would be awesome. That's like bad fantasy league stuff.
Right. Yeah. You get to draft from the loser.
That would be cool. The teams just get better and better and better. By the Super Bowl Sunday, it's these juggernauts.
Right. Every time you win, you get to raid.
Micah Parsons we've got Micah Parsons, the Cowboys. That would like a redraft every week of the best players.
I'd like to see Jair Brown involved. And I would like to see Kyle Juszczyk involved. To me, this guy is a Swiss Army knife of danger that isn't used enough. Christian Juszczyk should not have a bigger week than Kyle Juszczyk in the playoffs, and she did. And God bless her. And what a great husband he is. He's blowing his wife up as much as possible. There's also a lot of financial incentive for him to do that too. She's going to make a lot of money selling designer NFL coats and jackets and things like that. But I just think that Juszczyk is a Swiss Army knife of pain that isn't invoked an awful lot. And he is just the ultimate leak out of the backfield, the wheel route you didn't see coming. Give him a ball on 3rd and 1, just again, to take the beating off McCaffrey or spare Brock the quarterback sneak and all that comes with it. I'd like to see Juszczyk more involved in Jair Brown. Those are my formal requests. Larry, what's yours?
I would like to see more end arounds to Debo, to Ayuk, and I wouldn't even mind seeing Jordan Mason on an end around. I mean, you're talking about I love the end around. You get all the action going one way, and here comes the guy the other way. It's just, I like that east-west stuff. I mean, you're stretching the field. As a play caller, you're trying to stretch the field north and south. Then you're trying to stretch the field east and west. I'd like to see a little bit, more east and west. I mean, I love Debo on the end around. I love it. I'd like to see it like 3 times a game. And I'd like to see Ayuk on a reverse. I'd like to see, a little bit more, like the flea flicker or the more east west. A little bit. You got some great. I'd like to see a little bit more running and a little less passing in bad weather, especially in a game where Brock looked a little unsure of himself. Run the hell out of the ball. Your line is a decent pass blocking line. I think if there's a strength, it's a stronger run blocking line. Run the ball more. Forget balance. Run the ball. Run the football. You got a great defense. You got a punter that can pin somebody inside their 20 at will. You've got a bunch of runners. I mean, that's the one thing. Use the talent that you have. If you had a bunch of extra receivers like Green Bay does, then throw it all over the yard because you got all these receivers. What do the Niners have? They got McCaffrey, great runner. Debo, great runner. Jordan Mason, great runner. Elijah Mitchell, great runner. Run the damn football more. Don't be balanced. Be unbalanced. Run it 60-40. Run the ball, especially in bad weather, especially if Brock looks uncomfortable. Don't get pass happy. Get run happy.
Right. Again, to Kyle, instead of trying to set up the next play, why don't you just stick with the play that's working?
Use your talent. You got a bunch of runners. You said it earlier. Mitchell's fresh. And Mitchell looks good. He's in rhythm right now. For him never to run the ball, run Mitchell. Run. I trust Mitchell. I trust Mason. I trust McCaffrey.
And it's also how you keep guys involved, right? If you're Elijah Mitchell, you wanted to play in that game. You're not Christian McCaffrey. You're not getting 17 touches, but you want a couple. You want a couple, just like the Ravens. They gave Dalvin Cook a couple of carries at the end of that game just to make sure he stays leaned in. New guy on the team. You're involved. We like you. You know, Kyle Shanahan is basically turning around to a couple of guys who are really good and I think can help him on the team and says, I don't fucking trust you. I'm not going to play you.
Well, I don't know if he doesn't trust them, but he just gets so involved in his playbook and his mode that, you know, they get away from it. I mean, if he had ran the ball more as the offensive coordinator in Atlanta, he'd be wearing a Super Bowl ring right now. Run the ball. You got a stable of runners. I mean, you know how many teams would die right now to have a healthy, fresh Jordan Mason? And he never runs it. Elijah Mitchell is in a great rhythm right now. Run him. Run it. You got a bunch of great runners. Run it.
How about this? If you're afraid of just, we're going to send them in there and we don't want them running any play in the book, just design 4 plays for Mitchell, design 4 plays for Mason, and then give each of those guys at least 2 of those 4 plays somewhere in the game just to keep them in, just to keep them going, just to make sure that they don't get rusty going into the next week, since that rust versus rest concept very much felt like it was rearing its head.
I'll tell you the one other thing I'd love to see, Damon, is in the Super Bowl that when the Niners last actually won the Super Bowl against the Chargers, years ago, the first touchdown of that game was just this beautiful play where they ran Rice through the middle of the field, and then they ran Waters behind him through the exact same zone. And there was just nobody there because Jerry took everybody with him. Do that same play and substitute Jerry for Ayuk and substitute Waters for McCaffrey. And to me, you run Ayuk through the middle of a zone, he's going to take those safeties with him. And then you run that same play, but with, that you connected Steve Young to Waters, connect Purdy to a wide open CMC. I'd like to see them use CMC as a receiver a little bit more strategically in the next 2 games.
By the way, I just saw Kojo, old producer over at KNBR. He's
Kojo is in the house.
Anthony Kojikari is hanging out.
Kojo.
He's a big Lions fan. He's a Detroit guy, so he's Lions ready. Hey, you know what?
You're putting the cart before the horse there, Kojo.
You get there, young man. Don't start telling me about Fish's second set until we've made it through the first set. He's a big Fish guy. Okay.